You've probably noticed, AI tokens are cheaper than ever. DeepSeek charges just 28 cents per million input tokens. Yet your monthly AI bills keep climbing. Today, we're building a token cost calculator to uncover why and to stop those billing surprises. Here's the paradox: the price of processing a single token has cratered. As of early 2025, DeepSeek's API charges a mere 28 cents per million input tokens. That's less than a third of a cent per million. Yet your overall AI bills keep rising. To understand this, we'll build a token cost calculator, following the money from your query to the final charge. First, let's pin down the per token price history. Back in 2019, training GPT-2, 1.5 billion parameters, cost about $50,000. By 2022, Google's Palm 540B cost $8 million, and Megatron Turing NLG 530B around $11 million. Those enormous training budgets translated into steep API token pricing, often tens of dollars per million. But 2025 changed everything. DeepSeek trained its V3 model on 2000 NVIDIA H800 GPUs in just 55 days, for a reported $5.5 million. That efficiency drove the per token cost down dramatically. Now DeepSeek's API is priced at 28 cents per million input tokens and 42 cents per million output tokens, undercutting estimated prices of $250 for GPT-4o by nearly 10 times. So the raw price per token has indeed plummeted. But the number of tokens you're consuming in each interaction has exploded. And that's the other half of our calculator. The discrepancy is driving up bills even as per token costs fall. To see why, we need to examine what counts as a token and how usage has ballooned. To understand the explosion, we need to zoom in on what a token actually is. A token is a chunk of text that a language model processes, often a word, part of a word, or punctuation. Modern models use algorithms like byte pair encoding to compress text into token IDs. For instance, the word unbelievable might become 3 tokens: un, believe, able. Tools like OpenAI's TickToken library can reveal your token count instantly. On average, an English word maps to about 1.3 tokens, so a 100-word prompt becomes around 130 tokens. But it's not just your latest message. The entire conversation history, including system prompts and the model's previous replies, gets retransmitted every turn. That means a 10-exchange chat can easily balloon to several thousand tokens of input, even before you consider attached documents or code. And with multimodal models, each image can consume hundreds or thousands of tokens. Anthropic's Claude 2.1, for instance, doubled its context window to a staggering 200,000 tokens, roughly 500 pages of material, enough to hold entire novels. So while per token pricing is low, the sheer volume of tokens pumped into each request has skyrocketed. And this is where our calculator must account for both the token price and the token count. In the next section, we'll see how that growing context window silently inflates your bill. Every time you send a message to an AI model, the entire chat history travels with it. That's the context window. In older models, you could only include a few hundred words. Today, windows have exploded to 200,000 tokens and beyond. This means a single question can carry along thousands of tokens of background, often without you realizing it. To see the cost impact, let's plug numbers into our calculator. With DeepSeek's low input price of 28 cents per million tokens, a 10,000 token input costs just $0.0028. That's negligible. But multiply that by 50 queries a day, say, a power user, and you reach 14 cents a day, roughly $4 a month. Still modest. Now imagine a typical enterprise use case: an analyst uploading a 200-page report for summarization, which translates to around 150,000 tokens. At DeepSeek prices, each such request costs about 4 cents. However, many businesses use more expensive models like Anthropic's Opus, whose input and output pricing can be 10 to 50 times higher, turning the tiny per token cost into a substantial bill. And that's just input tokens. Output tokens add another layer. So the context window acts like a silent multiplier. Your per token cost hasn't changed, but the token count per interaction has swollen, which is why your AI bill feels inflated despite cheaper tokens. In the next piece, we'll look at how output tokens compound the problem. If the context window is the silent inflator, output tokens are the stealth multiplier. Every word the model generates counts against your bill, and modern models think out loud. Chain-of-thought reasoning, where the AI works through intermediate steps before giving a final answer, can balloon output token counts. For example, a complex coding query might consume 200 input tokens but prompt 800 tokens of reasoning in code. These chain-of-thought steps are invisible to you but very visible on your invoice. On top of that, output tokens almost always cost more per token than input tokens. DeepSeek charges 42 cents per million output tokens versus 28 cents for input. With premium models like GPT-4o, output pricing estimates reach $10 per million, a steep premium. And users often select the largest, most expensive model for better results. Anthropic's Claude model family offers Haiku, Sonnet, and Opus at escalating price tiers. Opus, the heavyweight, generates verbose, detailed responses that can easily cost 5 times as much as Haiku for the same conversation. In many workflows, your app might chain multiple model calls, summarize this, then rewrite that, multiplying output tokens across steps. So while you might budget for a short query, the model's assistant-like thoroughness pours tokens into the bill. In our calculator, we must account for output length, not just input. Low API token prices can be misleading because they don't reflect the full cost of running a state-of-the-art model. DeepSeek's reported $5.6 million training figure, for instance, covers only the GPU compute for the final run, not years of prior research, 6-figure researcher salaries, electricity, office space, or the massive server infrastructure that serves millions of users worldwide after launch. In fact, DeepSeek itself acknowledged these omissions. This means the token price you see may be subsidized, either by venture funding or strategic market grabbing. That's great for early adopters, but it could also signal future price increases or usage caps once profitability becomes a priority. The market certainly noticed. When DeepSeek's chatbot took off, Nvidia lost nearly $600 billion in market value in a single day, reflecting concerns that AI infrastructure investments might not pay off at rock-bottom token prices. That's a clear signal that token pricing is as much about market strategy as it is about compute. So when you're building your calculator, consider adding a contingency factor. If the true cost of serving a token is higher than what you're charged, your calculator needs a margin of error buffer or an awareness that today's bargain may not last. So while we celebrate cheaper tokens, it's wise to factor in the hidden costs that could eventually come back around. Now let's assemble everything into a working calculator. First, estimate your daily usage, how many prompts you send, and the average input and output token counts per prompt. For a typical knowledge worker, that might be 20 queries, each with 400 input tokens and 300 output tokens. If you're using DeepSeek at 28 cents per million input and 42 cents per million output, your daily cost is roughly half a cent, under 15 cents a month. Switch to a premium model like GPT-4o, with estimated input and output prices of $2.50 and $10 per million, and that same usage jumps to about 8 cents a day, or $2.40 a month. Now factor in the hidden context. If each of those queries carries a large background document, the input count could spike to 50,000 tokens, multiplying your costs by 100. Our calculator can be summed up in a single formula: daily cost equals input token count times input price plus output token count times output price, all repeated for each request. The key insight? Token price is just 1/2, total token consumption powers the bill. Keep an eye on context length and output tendency, and you'll never be surprised by an AI invoice again. Tokens are cheaper than ever, but the volume of tokens has exploded,